Did unicorns exist? Was there ever such a thing as a unicorn? What really was a unicorn? How can we know what the Bible intended when it mentions unicorn? Was there ever such a thing as a unicorn? This talk will discuss the subject. We will clarify the matter. My name is Yair Davidiy. I am speaking to you from Jerusalem, and I represent Brit-Am Hebrew Nations, an organisation that researches the whereabouts of the lost 10 tribes, and we found them in Western nations. We find them in the West, and we have proven this from the Bible and from the history and from secular sources as well as Rabbinical ones. Lion and the unicorn appear on the British coat of arms. The British coat of arms represents the British Kingdom, the United Kingdom. It is the symbol of Britain, and you will find on this coat of arms a lion and a unicorn. Also you will find on the coat of arms of Scotland 2 unicorns. In the Bible, in the King James Version of the Bible, we have mention of a unicorn. More modern translations sometimes render the word Brit-Am, the Hebrew word Brit-Am, which is translated as unicorn, they sometimes render it as ox or wild bull or some such terminology, and they're not entirely wrong. In fact, both renditions have something for them. They are both correct in a sense, as we shall show. Deuteronomy 33:17 tells us, and here we are speaking about Joseph, about the sons of Joseph, Ephraim and Manasseh. It says, his glory is like a firstborn bull, and his horns are like the horns of the wild ox, or like the horns of the unicorn. Together with them he shall push the peoples to the ends of the earth. They are the 10,000s of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh. So too we have the prophecy of Balaam, the pagan prophet who prophesied concerning Israel, concerning the Israelites in the end times. He says, Numbers 23:22, God brings them out of Egypt. Their strength like a wild ox, their strength like a ram, like a unicorn. Look at people rises like a lioness, or translated as a lioness. In fact, the Levi in Hebrew is a masculine, and it refers to a great lion. The people rises like a great lion and lifts himself up like a lion, like a younger lion, mature lion, but not a full-bodied one, as if to say. It shall not lie down until it devours the prey and drinks the blood of the slain. So here we have references to a unicorn, and this notion of Brit-Am being unicorn is ancient, even in translations of the Bible into Greek from 200 BCE or around that time. We have Monocuran, it mentions a unicorn there too. And whether or not unicorns actually existed is another point. Even if they did not, for our purposes it would not matter that much, because the fact is that they was a beast that was known in the mythology, in the folklore, in the symbolism of the ancient Middle East. It was known, the idea was known to the ancient Assyrians, known to the people of Mesopotamia, of Akkad and so on, and also was known to the Egyptians. So the idea of an animal, a horse-like animal, or a deer-like animal, or some such creature with one horn was known. We have oryx. An oryx is a type of deer, one could say. It's actually an oryx is like is defined as a wild antelope. It has 2 great big long horns, and in perspective, these 2 horns can appear by one when looked at from the side. And with the word in Hebrew translated as Brit-Am, we have a similar word, Rimu, which according to its word root, must be related in Assyrian inscriptions, and this Rimu usually refers to an auroch. An auroch, or oroch, however you want to pronounce the word, an auroch, was a type of wild bull, a gigantic cow-like creature with great big horns, which was very big, much larger than the bovine beasts we are familiar with, very big. And it existed in ancient times. It also existed in the modern area right up to the 1600s, which is not that long away by historical terms. They were known. Aurochs were known in Poland and East Germany, and so this is a possibility that that Auroch or Rimu is what is the word translated as rhyme. In effect, as we shall show, we think there was a creature with one horn, or a branch of the Auroch family, which was habitually had a mutation, sprang forth mutations, a branch of these Auroch creatures, which did have one horn on their head. And it is known, for instance, we find deer. Deer sometimes, it's not common, but it is known, deer sometimes appear with one horn on their head. And it is a mutation, or something went wrong with the child, with the beast at its birth and its youth, and the two horns became one, but the phenomenon is known. Also, we have rhinoceroses. A rhinoceros has horns. Actually, it's not really a horn. It's like a similar material to what our fingernails are made out of, but there's a protuberance which grows out like a horn from the lower part of its face. And in ancient times, there was a similar animal, a related animal known as an Elasmotherion, which had the same type of horn, which could extend up to 6 feet in length, growing up from its forehead. And from this creature, the idea of the unicorn may have arisen, even though the experts tell us that this creature was dead long before the appearance of mankind. But we cannot rely upon them for this type of testimony. At all events, getting back to the Auroch, we're told that it was an extinct wild ox of Europe, family Bovidae. It is related to cattle. It survived in central Poland until 1627. The book of Job speaks of the rain, which may have been an Auroch, or it may have been another similar creature, unicorn, translated as unicorn. And it speaks of a rain in terms pertinent to the Auroch. It says, will the unicorn, that is the rain, be willing to serve you or abide by your crib? Can you bind the unicorn, the ram, with his band in the furrow? Will he harrow the bellows after you? Can you tie him to a plough and have him? Can you tie a ram to a plough and have him harvest for you? It's an enormous strength, but apparently this type of creature was incapable of being domesticated, and therefore it was never used, and it is now extinct. But the creature was known, was referred to. And we also have references in the Bible to this creature known as a ram. Its horns are like the horns of unicorns, it says in Deuteronomy 33:17. Once again, its horns are like the horns of unicorns, Deuteronomy 33:17. And in Hebrew it says, Kane Ram Kanov. And this expression may be understood as saying that the ram has more than one horn, but rabbinical commentators chose to understand it as referring to a one-horned beast. And Ibn Ezra, Saadia Gaon, Yehuda Levi, Menashe ben Yisrael. There are numerous biblical commentators that understood the ram to be referring to a one-horned beast. See also the Radak, Sefer Shurashim. There's just a few of them. This is a well-known concept that the unicorns did exist and that the ram refers to them. There's an expression, he has as it were the strength of a unicorn, Numbers 23:22, and there the word translated as strength, toyafot, may also be referring to his horns. Toyafot is taken as referring to the horns. It is a word in the plural, as if he is referring to two horns, but the way it is written, not the way it is spelt, it is written as if the horns were one. Instead of Toya Fot, it's written as if it was to be said Toya Fat. And commentators on the Bible, rabbinical commentators on the Bible, look at these differences in spelling and in pronunciation, and they derive conclusions from them. And so this would indicate that it may have been a beast, that may be referring to a beast that could have had two horns, but in this case it had one, and this would be consistent with our conclusion that there was a species of auroch which frequently gave forth a mutational offspring with only one horn. We have depictions of what looks to be like a one-horned auroch. The depiction from an Assyrian or Babylonian illustration from Mesopotamia, and we have a similar depiction from the Harappa Valley in India, in western India, Harappa civilization, where we have exactly the same beast depicted. The Black Obelisk of Shalmaneser, king of Assyria. This obelisk is very famous. It is well known because it depicts a king of Israel, Jehu, coming and making obeisance to the king of Assyria. And this is testimony from an external source of a biblical figure, and that is why the obelisk is well known. It also shows what the obelisk is like a stone pillar, black stone pillar, with a series of pictures of illustrations around its sides. And one of the illustrations shows King Jehu paying obeisance, subjecting himself to the king of Assyria. And another one depicts different animals who are brought as tribute to the king of Assyria. And one of these animals which is brought to the king of Assyria is known as a sakia. And this appears to be a one-horned beast, a unicorn. And look at it, and it looks quite clear that this is what it is, a one-horned beast being delivered to the king of Assyria, to Shalmaneser V. And this obelisk, the Black Obelisk, was discovered in 1946 by Sir Austin Henry Layard. It was discovered at Nimrod, a site close to the present-day city of Baghdad. We have other depictions of unicorns from the Gundestrup cauldron in Denmark. This cauldron, this great big bowl made out of bronze, is very famous. It was discovered in Denmark. Some experts say that it came from the Celtic world. Some say that it may have come from Thrace. It was either booty, something they captured in war, or given to them as tribute, and they had it there. But even so, it depicts different scenes from the Celtic mythology, and also shows what appears to be gigantic beasts with one horns. And these beasts, they seem very similar to the Sakaya. Shalmaneser reigned from 858 BCE according to conventional dating until the 820s. The Gundestrup cauldron is believed to have dated from around 130 BCE. That means there was 700 years divide, approximately 700 years, give or take a few, between the Black Obelisk of Shalmaneser and the Gundestrup cauldron. But even so, the two beasts are very similar. They are very similar, so either, as is believed, they were both relying on a common body of folklore, of evidence, of motives, of mythical motives, found in illustrations that the Celts also borrowed from the Middle East, or they brought with them when they came from the Middle East to the West, and they still kept them, or they were relying on a genuine tradition, and such beasts did exist at that time. And the Talmud also mentions a similar beast. We're told in the Kulim, Masechet Kulim 60a, Rabbi Yehuda said the bull that Adam, the first man, sacrificed, had a single horn on his forehead. So here we have a reference to a bull, a type of bull with a single horn on his forehead. We also have a picture here from the 1600s from Poland, southeast Poland. It depicts a lion and a unicorn. And apparently the lion and the unicorn are either struggling or embracing. It is difficult to say. They looked quite friendly, and the lion appears to be sucking or kissing the horn of the unicorn, and this could represent the reunification of Judah, that is the Jewish people represented by a lion, the Lion of Judah, and the unicorn. The unicorn technically was a representation of Manasseh, but it could also in different contexts be taken to apply to all of Israel, as we saw in the prophecy of Balaam, and especially to that aspect of Israel given forth by the descendants of Joseph, by Ephraim and Manasseh. We do not know if a unicorn exists or not. We cannot, but there are sources that indicate that it did. It is feasible. It does seem to have been possible, and it is such that it was illustrated in ancient times. And the Bible has passages referring to an animal that has traditionally been understood to represent a unicorn, and how the biblical passages depict this picture, or how it is presented, is consistent with the evidence that we have concerning oryx, and the possibility that a breed of oryx was had this mutation, or frequently gave forth this mutation of having one horn, or alternately having had two horns that somehow or other grew together as it came to maturity. And similar phenomena are known from elsewhere amongst the fauna of the world. May the Lord God of Israel bless all of you, and thank you.